Hello, good morning. It's going to take some time to find the right words and get into a flow. I don't have a chance to find the right tone, but if I can get some way in that direction, it's worthwhile. I'm just trying to think where to start. And I start with last night. I start with the recent past. And the recent past is an accumulation of the past before. The past before was a case of it all happened so quick. From being in terror, realizing I was in terror, maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago, maybe longer. It was like a series of events that happened once I was trying to find feet within terror. That sort of compounded that. Sort of kept amplifying how bad things were. Before long, I found myself pretty much immobile in bed. And that's where I've been for the longest time. And again, many problems have been added on top of that. In that place, I realized the amount of pain my body is in. So not being able to move, realizing the truth to the level of my life, the terror. It wasn't a case of something happened and then I entered into terror. It was a case of continued hard work and life making it harder, but and the realization of being in terror was finding a level of truth within my mind, and life had to make the outside harder to some extent for me to be able to see that. And with that clarity of mind, riding life with that clarity, I realized the extent of the pain in my body. And the question that comes to mind is, I don't understand how I'm not passing out unconscious and dying without doing a thing. It's that severe. For whatever reason, I am still conscious, But through that process of going from a clarity of mind to realizing the amount of pain in my body as a truth, there was a level of shock, and that unsettled me. And there was more that had to be added on to the level of mind where I was able to accept terror. So more and more unpleasantness to my life was added on, so I could become bedbound and become real with the level of shock in my body. And let's just say that that chunk of what was added on is truly sickening. And that, plus that final shock of realizing how much pain my body is in, has really unsettled me. Has unsettled that any clarity really that was gained through realizing I was in terror. I can look back and see my actions and say they were coherent to doing the right thing. But there was definitely a lack of clarity. So in other words, I was doing the right thing to the continued circumstance. But with that chunk of unpleasantness and that final shock, it's a case of I went off on a tangent to where I should have been if I had that clarity of mind all the way through. And really and truly, that's an impossibility. If I want to be honest with how unpleasant, and if I want to be honest and see the pain in my body. And through that tangent, I've lying in bed one day, I realized I made a few videos around 2 months ago. Life gifted me a realization of how to get God consciousness onto a computer. And that's a money-making idea, and that's what I've always been about, money. And as a kid, when it began, these ideas of money, it was more a case of self-want, to become something in this world. But as I've grown up and as I've had education that's come my way, it's more a case of doing good for the entire planet with that money. So I made the decision when I was bedbound and becoming real with the pain, and because the pain was so severe and I was so weak, I realized I needed to do something. I couldn't just lie here anymore. I should have died to the extent of what I was experiencing, but I wasn't dying. And with that, with the terror plus the pain and everything that constituted the terror to begin with, and the level of detachment to life Oh, and the final thing is, through that chunk and through that shock, I've been honest with myself to say I'm in a coma. I'm in a near-death experience. So when I've been saying it before on live streams, I've believed it. But to truly believe it, you need to be able to see your life in such a way that it really justifies that. To be pseudo alive in a body, experiencing a reality is one thing, but to know you're alive, experiencing a reality, but within that reality dead on some level, and or this reality not being the reality you knew once upon a time. You need to know it in your bones, sort of thing. And this plus this has allowed me to know it in my bones. So I've reshifted my focus to the future now as a result of that. And in that place there isn't much future. But being in bed bound, realizing the extent that this reality is willing to make this body, this mind suffer nonetheless, I needed to do something. And in that place, I said, sod it, I'm going to make the money. For two reasons, I won't go into details, but one of the obvious factors to that is if you've lost your attachment to the world, if you watch my previous live streams, everything I've been speaking about, the process of being in terror, realizing I'm dead and everything else, sort of makes you not want anything of this world. No love, no possession, nothing. All you want is to end the suffering. And if you're dead, and this is a dream, and the dream is making you suffer, the want now is to be reborn again and go on and continue the cycle of life. But if I had £1 billion in my bank account, I'm sure I could use that £1 billion to get me by, to lessen the suffering in this world for myself. And that's the decision I made. And for the past few weeks, I've been trying to get that code down on paper, which I haven't been able to do thus far. Where I've been so unsettled in mind, I've not been able to think at all. I forget clearly, my brain shut down. I wasn't able to think to the level of experience I was being asked of. And last night I replayed one of the earlier videos talking about God consciousness on a computer. I thought, and it reminded me of the place I was in terms of being in terror and what that meant. And I realized, one, I don't really have a chance in getting the code down. I saw how petrified my mind was in the moment yesterday. It was telling me life is clear, life is wonderful, life is this, even though I knew the level of suffering I was in. That's sort of what my mental health was telling me and what my eyes were telling me. And it's hard to get past that. Sorry. The other thing is, with that clarity of mind that has half returned on listening to myself a few months ago, which reminded me of where I am really in the present moment. And that's the whole point of this live stream, to refocus myself. And that realization is a case of, I don't really have a chance in getting that code down, because life isn't giving me the chance to do the bare necessities at the moment. Fanciful thinking of money is just so far away from being able to go to the shops to get your food and water, being able to cook, being able to I live on a boat, so being able to manage the generator and stuff like that, so I've got electricity and lights and everything else, and a bit of DIY I need to do, the maintenance, and I'm not able to really do that at the moment. So it's just, I can't quite see how I'm going to go to that step, which is still a half necessity, when life is preventing me from doing all of those fundamentals. The other factor is, with this level of life that was added on and the final shock, it unsettled me, as I said. And the truth is, if I know my mind has a clarity to life, there's a level of strength that gives. You override the pain. The pain, really and truly, it was like, this is how much pain your body's in. But I half knew that already 2 months ago. And with a remembering of that place 2 months ago, no matter how much pain I'm in, to my awareness, it doesn't matter. The level of suffering my mind is in is the focus, and everything else is secondary. And before yesterday, I was getting caught up in mental health stuff. I was getting caught up in little things, and I guess that was the shock, the unsettledness. Really and truly, if I had kept that level of clarity to my life from 2 months ago, there would have been no chance of me getting caught up in those things. So where I'm thinking the action plan is a case of just ride this out for a few days, maybe a week, of this transition back to a place of clarity. And make the decision on the code and money then. And I think that's it. There's no more to say. The next week will be severely, severely hard in what I have to do. But I don't have much choice about it.